So as you all know, we recently added ADAS to a Volkswagen Virtus. And that video got a lot of attention, about 1.5 lakh views or something. So a lot of people wanted to get that done on their Virtus, Taigun, Prerak, Slavia, etc. Watching that video, a customer from Patna reached out and dropped their car with us. Have a look at it. The drive from Patna to Panchkula is a pretty long one, and that is evidently visible on the car as well. It is filled with bugs on the front, and overall the car has become really dirty. So before we can take it inside the shop, let's clean it thoroughly. Alright, with the car somewhat clean, let's take it inside. So this is everything that we will be installing on this car. First of all, this radar which will go behind this logo, and even this logo will be replaced because it should be plain on the back. This will enable adaptive cruise and front assist. But to enable adaptive cruise, we need to change the ECU. So we'll see if we change it on this car. This is the wiring for it. And we have the lane keep assist camera. This is the camera. This is the bracket. This is the trim for it. This will be mounted on the windshield. So you will watch that process as well. And all of this, these two radars and this wiring and these lamps are for BSD. Blind spot detection and RTA, rear traffic alert. Now the parts for auto park and direct TPMS are not here yet, but they will arrive soon. Even that is going to be installed in this car. And the best thing, this is the most beautiful thing that we are installing in this car. You saw it on the Virtus as well, and we are doing it on this car too. This is the Eurospec virtual cluster, which looks much better than the stock half LCD cluster, which just has blank displays on the side. It's just colors. It looks weird. But this looks so much better. Anyway, so this is everything. Let's start taking the car apart and put the wiring together. So let's start by removing the bumpers, the boot trims and the side panel trim so that I can lay down the wiring and put the various sensors in. I will also remove this trim right here because we will be installing a Highline camera that I'm soon going to receive. So let's take all of this apart. So now I have the bumpers removed, both rear and front. The front one was slightly difficult to remove. Both the bumpers are actually difficult to remove on this Taigun because of this cladding. You have to pull this out, and almost all the time you break the lock. So while we will be putting this back together, we have to paste the locks back in. Anyway, after this cladding, there was one hidden hole back here, right beneath, like right above the fender lining. So I had to remove almost all of the fender lining, half of it, half the front. I had to drop it down, and then I could access the bolt. But anyway, all of that is done. The bumper is out. Now with the bumpers removed, what I'm going to do is put down all the wiring which will go from the outside to the inside. For example, this radar, it will be mounted to the grill right here. So I will take this wiring from the outside in. This is for the TPMS. Now we have a choice with the TPMS if you want to install the module on the outside or the inside. Mostly I do it on the inside, we'll see. This is for the blind spot. This will go from the rear inside. This is for the front parking sensors, and this is for the rear parking sensors. So I will start to lay down all of this wiring harness take it through multiple grommets into the car. And if you're worried that I'm keeping this on the car and it's scratching the paint, this car has a thick PPF on it, which is self-healing, so I don't think I'm damaging anything. Anyway, let's begin routing all the wires in. Some harnesses don't have any sort of covering on it, so I'm just going to add a layer of felt tape to the ones that don't have it. This is the front parking sensor harness, and in order to run this, I need to take it through this grommet right here, which is far in there. In order to access that, I need to remove all of these sill trims. So let's do that. So this is the grommet right here, and it's removed. I need to make a tiny hole in here, deepen this coupler, pass the wiring through, because this connector should be inside the car and this should be on the outside. So let's do that. Now just the last 2 pins, like that, it is out. Now it is really easy to route this throughout the grommets and then inside the car, and then we will repin it once it's inside. So I'm going to route this wiring along here so that I have enough length near the fog lamp where I will leave the harness for the front sensors. I will tie it somewhere around here and take this inside. Now I have successfully brought the length of harness right here. I'll just poke a hole in this, pass the wires through, put this grommet, and the wires will be inside. Alright, and it is through the grommet. Later on we will apply some seal on it as well once we know the exact length that we require, but for now let's just push all of these wires in. And it is through, it is inside the car.
So just like Prerak did the wiring on the other side, I am wiring on the driver side for the adaptive cruise control. So this is the grommet from where we will be routing the wire to the interior.
With the wiring pulled inside from the driver side for the front radar, this is a CAN which is interconnected. This goes to the camera which we are going to be installing here. So let's start the work on that. In order to put that here, or at least see where it goes, we need to remove this entire system, the IRVM, the trim pieces for it. So let's do that. And it's out. So this is the camera and this is the bracket for it, which we will be pasting right here next to the IRVM. If you remember the previous Vortex video, we put this camera right here, which was too far below, and even in that video I mentioned that it is really far down and it might come in the way in your eyesight at least. So this will be way higher and slightly onto this side. The difference is this is 3Q0. The part number starts with 3Q0 and the previous one was 2Q0. So the entire shape is different, the form factor is different, so the bracket was different. So hopefully this time it looks slightly cleaner. Let's see. Let's work on it. Before we can install it, we will have to sand this part down, which will be difficult. So we'll see how we tackle that.
So Prerak has already told about the front lane assist camera and I'm going to wire it now. So here are the extended CAN wiring which is going to be going into the BCM, and these extended CAN wires are for the TPMS, front assist, your lane assist camera. All of these wires will go into a single spot. So I'm going to wire it now.
So with the wiring all done, let's install the parking sensors. For the front bumper, we are going to install one here, 3, 4, and these special ones on the very corner. Somewhere around here, we'll see that. So these are the sensors which make the auto park magic happen. These are the PLA sensors. So Let's add some masking tape, take some measurements and install them, because there is no template on these bumpers. Even on the bumper of the Polo, there is a template on the rear for where the sensors need to go. But this car was never supposed to have front sensors or 12 sensors, so there is no template. Let's take some measurements. So, slight change of plans. We cannot place these sensors here or here. It is because this is a chrome cladding on top, so this must be pretty thick. The sensors will not sit flush. So, we will place the sensors here. One will go here and the other will either go here or over here. This would be better because this is too low to the ground. This would be better, and the final sensor will go at the corner anyway. So from the back, let's make 8 mm holes, and then using these special cutting tools made for these sensors, they will be perfect. So let's mark them up, drill some holes. So to make sure the sensor goes in the right place and I make the hole in the right place, I'm going to put a dab on the center of the sensor so that I have a good estimate of where I need to make the initial hole. With that done, let's see where it needs to go. Right here, push it in, and there. That's where the first pilot hole should go. Now let's repeat this process for the other holes as well. Now it is time for the corner sensor. Right here. These tools make life so much easier because this bumper has a really thick PPF on it, and even the PPF is not damaged. Look, it's not lifting from anywhere. It is entirely intact and the fitment comes out so good, so OEM. You cannot tell that this was done aftermarket and not by Volkswagen. Just like this, now I have to do the rest half of the bumper and the rear. So
So the wire routing is finally complete for all of the modules, and here are the CAN bus, power and ground, and now the final part is left to just give them actual power from the fuse box, ground and the CAN bus via the BCM. So let's get that done and power all the modules.
So all the holes are drilled in the front and rear bumper, even these corner ones, and I've added masking tape on the edges of the bumper so that anytime it rests, it doesn't scuff the bumper but just the tape. Anyway, we have a bit of a problem on the back side. So the problem is, this is an 8-pin connector and this is an 8-pin connector as well. But this 8-pin connector has the connection for the rear fog lamp. So we need to retain the rear fog lamp and still add 3 more sensors. So what I'm thinking is, I will remove the tape from the entire harness and keep this connector alive and remove the stock sensor harness and install this new one. So let's first remove this harness out of the bumper and see if we can do that. Now I found a solution. We are going to add a 2-pin coupler which is going to be waterproof as well. The wires are not of the accurate gauge, but it is fine because they are small and we do not have the correct connector right now. So we will order the correct connector with the correct wire gauge and replace it later on when this car will come again for adaptive cruise, because we do not have the ECU right now. Anyway, we will replace this later on, and even if we don't, it's not that big of a deal. It is just supposed to send a signal, so it's fine. Alright, so I have wired the rear harness properly now, so it's not going to be a problem anymore to power up this rear fog lamp. Next up, let's paste these sensors properly. What I'm going to do is remove this protective layer, heat this up properly without the sensor in place, because heating the sensor can ruin it entirely. It will not only reduce its performance, but in most cases it just stops working. So I will heat this up entirely till it bubbles up so that it will stick properly and forever. Later on we'll add a bit of glue as well, but let's take it on. Now this is all heated up, let's put the sensor back in so that it will get centered and then paste it. I have already cleaned the surface behind. Let's just paste this now. Alright, the rear bumper is entirely done. It is time for the front one now. Let's do all of this on the front one. Alright, even the front bumper is now complete. All the sensors are in and the wiring is in as well. So let's hang it up without the bolts for the time being and check if everything is in order. Now we have just loosely hung the bumpers just to connect the wiring, and we have coded everything necessary. Now let's put it in reverse and it should display the sensors. And it does. It has errors, which means that some sensors are not working. Let's see which ones. Side left, right rear. Okay, so they are both for the rear. Let's replace them with these ones and see if the faults go away, because generally these sensors are faulty. Alright, with those two sensors replaced, it should work now. Alright, that sound already means that it's working, and if Ram walks in the front, you can see it's picking up the sensors. Cool. One thing done, many more to go. So let's continue by installing BSD at the rear. This right here are the brackets for the BSD, blind spot detection, rear traffic alert, all of that. Now these need to go somewhere around here. What we need to check is if they are exactly 45 degrees from the car. So again, with the help of the compass, we will put it here. It says 80 degree. So if we add 45 to that, it should be 125, and it should show 125 right here. And we are slightly above 125. We are 50 degrees. So instead of having 45 degrees, we have 50 degrees with this bracket. So we need to modify it a little bit. Alright, we'll do that. Now this says 55 and it says 5 or 4 here. So that's a difference of 51 degrees. We need it to be 45. So this right here is a favorable position for this bracket and for the radar. I have installed the crash bar so I don't clash with it. So I have marked these positions 1, 2 and 3 right here. Now the difference of 5 degrees that we are facing, because it is 50 degrees and not 45 degrees, there is a bit of play within the bracket for the radar. So we can fine tune it later on, but this seems to be a good favorable position because all 3 of the holes are in a position where we can drill and put a rivet in. So let's do that. I am applying a thin layer of sealant as we have just drilled through seam sealant. So it is necessary that no amount of moisture, water or anything can get in there. So this thin layer of sealant will ensure that, and later on we are going to clamp this, so it will only get stronger. Well, this one cannot be pulled anymore. Let's move on to the next one. With these 2 holes drilled, let's sand them a little bit to make them cleaner and put a little bit of paint on it. And then we'll also put sealant on here so that no amount of rust can ever build up on it. Alright, with the rev nuts installed, let's install the bolts for it as well. So with all the 3 bolts installed, this bracket in itself is really solid. It's on there properly, and this radar just needs 1 more bolt, and we will add a couple of washers between the bolt and the nut to give it some angle because it is still sitting at 50 degrees while it should be 45. So we'll give it washers as shims and we will set it precisely to 45. But let's replicate this on the other side as well.
So with the wiring of the reverse sensors and all of the other modules finally sorted, we have also finalized the wiring for the blind spot detection. Now it's time for the Highline camera. So this is a whole kit, but we'll only be using the CAN lines and the power lines. So let's start with that. So the camera is finally installed and it's time for the wiring now, but there is a big difference in between the old wiring, which is from the factory, and the new wiring harness. So we'll have to add the CAN lines for the Highline camera to work, but we'll also have to replace the connector for it because this is a 8-pin connector and this is just a 4-pin connector. So we'll be doing that and then we'll be continuing with the wiring part. So after a very long struggle with the car, the wiring is finally complete and now we are ready to wire the PLA buttons, which although come as a physical set, into the Regio unit. So it is finally time to remove the trim and wire the buttons and prepare this new Eurospec cluster for installation, as we have to remove that old cluster as well. So let's start unpacking. So the wiring part is finally complete and now it's time to install the front lane assist camera. So now to install it, first of all we have to use this bracket because obviously these windshields don't support the lane assist camera natively, and I am using a double tape for it because if we have to do a little adjustment in calibration, we can do it. The thing is that we are installing a 3Q0 camera. So 3Q0 camera needs a static calibration rather than a dynamic calibration. So we'll be installing a banner up over there, and with that we will be calibrating the front camera. Let's get to install it. So the camera is finally mounted and it's ready to be used. So it has been wired, it has been mounted for calibration, and it is now ready to accept all new datasets, all new files, so that it could be used in this Taigun. And that is now done, and let's get to the front assist so that we can get all of this sorted and ready for coding. So finally time to replace the cluster, and here we have the new one. So let's remove the old one and replace it with it. So you guys might be wondering that why I haven't disconnected the battery before replacing the cluster or before removing the old one. The reason being is that this car has keyless entry, and with keyless entry the thing is that if I will install the new cluster with ignition off, I cannot switch on the ignition because the cluster is not coded with the immobilizer and the keyless start-stop system. So yes, there is a little risk, but we have to replace the cluster with ignition on only. It is now replaced. Let's get back to the coding part. So the cluster is finally coded. All of the other modules have also been parameterized now. So now it's time to calibrate the front camera, the front driver assist camera. And for that we need to take the measurements of the wheel arches from the ground to the wheel arch, and from the ground to the camera height, camera lens height. So we need to do that, and after that the camera calibration will start. We'll attach the banner over there, the static calibration banner, and it will be done. Hopefully it will be done. So we'll start from measuring the rear right wheel, and from the ground up just center it, center the measuring tape, and it says 73.5 centimeters, which converts into 735 millimeters. So rear right is 735 millimeters. So we'll go to the rear left. So just centering it again. You can use the wheel cap to center it, and this time it is 74.3 centimeters, which converts to 743 millimeters. Although there is a difference in height on both of the sides, that difference in height will affect the front camera. So we need an accurate measurement. That is why we are using this, and we'll do it properly on the front sides as well. The car is ready for calibration for the front assist camera, and the process has basically started. And this is the makeshift calibration mat I have just made, just because the height needs to be measured for the camera, and used a plyboard to mount the calibration sheet. I hope it goes well. Let's start with it. These are the blind spot detection LEDs. They always light up if there is someone close to you or nearing you. So although I forgot to mention this earlier, but we have also enabled auto high beam assist in this car. You can see that logo right there, and that logo is saying to keep a safe distance from the front car. That is for front assist. That was for front assist basically. So this car also has high beam assist enabled in it, which runs through the lane assist camera. So that is also a great feature, that you don't always have to take care of the high beam. So currently we are at the tire shop, and we are getting these TPMS sensors installed, because the module has been calibrated, installed, parameterized, but the sensors haven't yet. So finally, everything we were about to do on this car is now done, and this car is now ready to be delivered. I'll just give a little overview of what all we have installed on it. And starting from the front, this is not your regular logo, this is a ceramic logo, and behind it is the front assist radar. Right beneath, if we come to the bumper part, from factory there are no sensors on the front bumper, and this has 6 sensors on it. So that helps in auto parking as well, and 6 sensors are also installed on the rear bumper as well. So that helps in auto parking and 360 overview of the parking sensors. So this right here is a Highline camera, and it has a lot of advantages over a low-line camera. It has dynamic guidelines and it has semi-parallel parking assistance. Right down here are the parking sensors which we have installed. From factory there are only 3 sensors, and now we have installed 6 sensors on this car. The sensor right here is from the factory only because the finishing wouldn't be great after filling up the hole. So that is why we have kept the sensor here only. Right here on the both corners of the bumper we have installed the PLA sensors. These will help in auto park and, as I told, 360-degree view of the car. So here are the interior parts which we have changed, and here is the cluster. This car was already a Taigun GT Plus, and it had a virtual cockpit but a half LCD virtual cockpit. So we have installed a full Eurospec virtual cockpit at 10-inch one, and all of the functions on it have been activated as well. This cluster also supports TPMS, lane assist, side assist, rear traffic alert and front assist. As we have already showed all of the functions in the video, so all of these functions are working flawlessly. The speed limiter has also been enabled with the cruise control function, and the high beam assist is also working. Right here is the module responsible for lane assist and high beam assist. This windshield basically was never designed for this module or any module. We have installed a full bracketry for it. The lane assist module is calibrated, the wiring has been routed properly throughout the car, and it is working flawlessly. There are no faults in the system. It holds its lane properly, it steers whenever it needs to. The high beam assist is also working flawlessly. So it came out 100%. So this car came from a place very far away, and I hope everything we have done makes the owner very happy. If you do have any requirements or queries, do contact us on that red cells and evo.retrofit. See you in the next video. Bye.